Hello. Hello, good evening. Who's going to be the first to join us this evening? Yay, who's there? Who's first today? Rind, how are you? Good evening. Oluwatoyin, good evening. Good evening, Oriyomi, how are you? Hello, Peace, good evening. Oluwatoyin, good evening again. Hello, Miss Sharon Care, Mrs. Sharon Care, good evening. Favor, how are you? Good evening. Hello, Pastor Clement. Patty, good evening. Elizabeth, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Justin, good evening. Thank you for joining us. As you're coming in, guys, without further ado, please let's start sharing and also inviting our friends and family to join us. We're having a book review today, and I know you've seen the title of the book, How to Develop Nation.
Don't mess up with the title.
Okay.
I will give them.
All right. How to develop a nation. How to develop a nation through the dignity of labor. Ha! I got it.
That's what you think.
No? How to develop a nation through the dignity of labor. Guys, you would have seen the title. I wrote it, but I can't remember it fully right now. Hello, Charles. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. As you're coming in, please start sharing. Share, and also invite your friends individually. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining again and again and again. Thank you. I hope you've had a nice Saturday so far. And you joined us earlier for Ask Dr. Sunday. If you didn't, you have the video available. So it's on this page, or you can watch it on YouTube later. So currently it would still be on this page, Dr. Sunday Adelaja's page. And on YouTube is Sunday Adelaja Official. So you can check it out on Sunday Adelaja Official later. That's Ask. But on Sunday Adelaja Official, you'll find a whole host of playlists and titles that you can listen to. So check that out as well. If you're joining us for the first time, I would like to welcome you. I hope you will be coming back over and over again. We're usually live twice a day, 7 p.m. Ukraine time and 9 p.m. Ukraine time daily, Monday to Sunday, every day of the week. So join us as much as you can. Hi, Vivian, good evening. Hi, Jane, good evening. Nikki, good evening. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining. Hello, Stella, good evening. Thank you all. Thank you so much. And thanks for sharing. So I don't want to delay any further. Elizabeth, good evening. We are going to start this evening. I'm going to turn the camera to Dr. Sunday now, and we're going to start. Hello, Prince Adedolu from Dubai. Thank you for joining us. Please share and invite your friends too. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Can you see the book here? Is it clear enough to you? Can you see it? This is how to become a developed country. How to become a developed country. Is that what is written?
Yes.
So it's actually how it's about becoming. That's very important. How to become. Not just how to develop this time, but how to become a developed country. It is my expectation and hope that all the people who are listening to me right now, that all of you are dreaming of your nation and of your country becoming a developed country. Are you dreaming about it? Are you hoping that your continent, your nation will become a developed country? Are you, hoping that your country will become a developed country? This is about becoming. how to become. I don't know if they become is small, if it's there.
It's there.
Okay, how to become a developed country. How to become a developed country through the dignity of labor. This title by itself, and it's a beautiful cover too, I think, I hope. This title by itself tells us that there is a key to developing a nation. There is a secret to it. And the secret to it, one of the secrets to developing a nation is what that title conveys. How to become a developed nation through the dignity of labor. It means the dignity of labor is a major tool, instrument, key to making a country become developed, to becoming a developed nation. This book is a must have a must read for everybody that has any form of passion for their country or nation. And even me, as I'm looking at this book, I'm thinking, wow, Pastor Sunday is going to touch on every topic in this world. I'm going to just write on everything and anything. It's just like people that are not even considering or thinking about. This is to reveal my passion and to see how much energy I have in me to bring out solutions and answers for my generation and for generations to come. I'm sure some of you have heard the word or the statement or the phrase, the dignity of labor. But how much do you know about it? How much do you know about dignity of labor? How much have you studied the topic? How much of that topic, how much does it speak to you? And what role do you think it plays, that is dignity of labor, what role do you think it actually plays in national development or in making countries become developed nations? What about our countries, our countrymen, our government, our presidents, our rulers? Are they aware that this is a major secret to developing a nation? Are you really sure they know this key? How many times have you heard our country people talk about dignity of labor as one of the secrets and keys that they are going to use to develop their country? How many times have you heard Nigeria or your country teaching the dignity, the principle of the dignity of labor in schools, to university students, to tertiary students, to secondary school students? How much dignity is attached to labor in your society? Yes, maybe some of us have noticed that there is dignity of labor in the developed countries. What do we think? Does that just happen by itself, by accident? Does that just happen because they are developed? Nothing happens by accident. Principles have to be inculcated into the structure of the government and of the nation. Of course, this book is on Amazon already. If you put it, How to Become a Developed Nation through the dignity of labor, or just put dignity of labor and Sunday Adelaja, this book should come up on Amazon and I think on Okada as well. So how much of dignity of labor? Why is it that in some countries and countries that are developed, there is dignity of labor principle operating there without us even knowing what it's called. And without us knowing where it comes from. So what are the wrong things that our countries are emphasizing? What are the wrong values that our society is emphasizing instead of the dignity of labor? So now let's go into the book. But before I go into the book itself and give you some of the nuggets from this book, I feel like I should hear what people are telling me, what people are answering me in regards to the questions I've asked so far. Is anybody writing anything? Are they commenting about, what we are talking about?
Just greetings at the moment. And they're asking for the volume, but it's max.
That was when you were speaking because it was here.
Okay. No, they're not answering yet.
Okay. This book is started by giving the definition of what is development. What do we understand by development? What is development? What are we talking about? What do we talk about? And what do we mean when we talk about a nation becoming a developed country? So, that is chapter 1. And in that chapter, we also talk about values. The value system is what is basically responsible for the development of nations. And if you have been listening to me for some time now, you are probably familiar with one of the phrases that I used to say, that peoples and nations are not developed by the by the value of their wealth. That nations are not developed by the value of their wealth, but by the wealth of their values. Let me say that again. Nations are not developed by the virtues of their wealth, but by the wealth of their virtues. Nations are not developed by the virtue of their wealth, raw materials, mineral resources, oil, gas, everything. Nations are not developed by the virtue of their resources, potential, wealth, not by the virtue of their wealth. So why are nations developed? How are nations developed? Nations are developed by the wealth of their virtues. So based on that principle, in the very beginning of this book, I pointed out the virtues of the country that is regarded as the most developed country in the world today. And that most developed country in the world today is America. So I pointed out the fact that America is first of all built on certain virtues and principles, unfortunately, that even Americans themselves might not even be aware of. But really, there are 13 principles or 13 virtues upon which America is built. So it is the wealth, it is the depth of those virtues that now predestine the greatness of America. But a lot of nations, unfortunately, today that want to copy America or want to become developed like America, they just want to, be developed by the virtue of the physical wealth and resources that they see, and they are all copying the external things, and they are disregarding the internal reasons invisible reasons why that is behind the development of America. And these invisible reasons are the virtues upon and the principles upon which America is built. So there are 13 key major virtues upon which America is established, and that are responsible for the wealth and the progress of America today. So those 13 principles and virtues are here. They are invisible, but they are the bedrock. They are the foundation of the American greatness that we see today. So I'm just trying to confirm and affirm that thing, that truth, that aphorism that I just said, that nations and people are great or are developed not thanks to the virtue of their wealth, not because of the virtue of their wealth, but because of the wealth of their virtues. So it means that how rich they are in virtues, not how the virtue of how wealthy they are. So, but one of the virtues that is responsible for the development of any nation, and that will be responsible for development of nations in the future or in the past, is the virtue of dignity of labor. That is one major virtue that cannot be erased and cannot be overlooked by any country that hopes to become a developed country anytime soon. So that is chapter 1 of this book. Let me show you the book again. How to become a developed country, a developed nation through the dignity of labor. How to become a developed nation through the dignity of labor. So that was just at one point from one chapter. Let me take you further. And I really want to encourage everybody that is planning to join the movement against deception in the church, or that is really passionate about getting the country, either Nigeria or any country, no matter what country you are coming from. If you are really passionate about getting your country developed, you learn from get this book. Get this book. Learn from the best. Get the book. Another truth that I want to bring, that I wrote about in this book, is the role dignity of labor played through the ages, and if it's even playing now in the countries that we call developed. So I traced the history of other countries that have become great over the years and over the ages, both in the past and the present. And we pointed out the role of dignity of labor in fostering development of those nations. And then we also, in chapter 2, included here in the book, how to actually bring about the dignity of labor to a nation. But one of the most important parts of this book is the part 2 of chapter 2 of when I spoke about the influence of the reformers on Europe. And that's when it's called, what did the concept of dignity of labor do to Europe, and what can it do to Africa and other developing nations? So that's a whole chapter over there. The concept of the dignity of labor was developed by the Protestants of Europe. They are totally different from the Protestants of today. And unfortunately, the Protestants of today, we preach the gospel that is not familiar with the Protestants of the past. Because the gospel that the Protestants of today are preaching, they are not capable of developing a nation. But the gospel that was preached by the Protestants of Middle Europe, they are the principle that brought about the development of European continent, and the civilization that we're all enjoying today. So for us to really, truly develop our society and nation, we must wake up the church as well. And our pulpit must get the right message correct. And we must begin to preach the message, the authentic message of the gospel that will include and emphasize the role of labor and, of course, the dignity and the culture of labor in our society. Because the culture of every nation is formed by, especially by the influence of the pulpit of that land, whether it's pulpit or church pulpit or mosque pulpit, but the religion of any country plays a major role in the formation of its culture. So, and if the religion and the pulpit is preaching fallacy and the wrong concepts and wrong value systems, so those values will either be responsible for development or for regression. But unfortunately, the values that are coming from our pulpit today, they are not capable of breeding development. They are only capable of bringing repression and digression. So unfortunately, for our church, for the Church of Africa to contribute to development of the continent, we must also, first of all, change the message that comes from our pulpit. And that message must be oriented towards growth, development, civilization. And we must steer ourselves away from messages of intolerance, superstition, and religiosity. So our messages must now be principle-focused, value-based, and that's where we will be able to produce virtuous people that will be strong enough to bring about a new nation, a developed nation, and a civilized society. So let me then in chapter 4, I mentioned one of the big changes that we must make in our pulpits and in our culture. The very antonym of the concept of the dignity of labor is the concept of what will I call it? Get rich quick. Get rich quick. So the culture of get rich quick is the opposite of the dignity of labor. And that is what our pulpit is preaching and propagating today. Get rich quick. That is, maybe we don't call it that way. We might not be using that same word or language, but that's exactly what our pulpit has been propagating and promoting. It's the same thing that our society has bought into, and our society, as long as our society is being built on the culture or principle of getting something for nothing and get rich quick culture, we will never be developed. We will always be backward. So that culture of get rich quick or getting something for nothing must be replaced by the culture of dignity of labor. So that is to say that the culture that you don't need to produce, you don't need to create, that you can pray and you get what you need, that is what it means by getting something for nothing. Just go to pray, go to prayer mountains, go to churches, go and give. Instead of using your money to put it in production and building factories and industries, you give it to pastors and churches where there is no production, there is no productivity, they just build churches and properties, and you think your country will be developed? Fallacy. That whole concept of getting something for nothing must be replaced by the value of dignity of labor. So in this book, I've also endeavored to tell us the devastating effect of the concept of get rich quick or getting something for nothing. So what does the culture of get rich quick do to a nation? What does the culture of get rich quick do to a nation? So that's one of those topics here in this book. It brings about degradation, it brings about backwardness, when a country is celebrating or promoting the culture of getting something for nothing. So this book is a deliverance book for Nigeria and for any developing country. It's a deliverance book. It's a how-to book. It's like taking a nation by the hand and leading that nation step by step into our greatness. So, yeah. So, how to become a developed country, a developed nation through the dignity of labor. If you're really concerned about your country, you need to get this book.
Shall I read some comments?
Please.
Okay. Hello everyone. Hi Wafelala. Shmuel says good flow of thought flow.
That's Susanna, eh?
No, Shmuel, Joshua.
Okay.
Good flow of thought flow there, MOG, man of God. Also consider looking through the book Why Nations Fail, the Origin of Power, Prosperity and Poverty by Darina and John. Okay, thank you, Shmuel. We must begin to preach truth against here in America too. That's Vivian that's saying that. Joy says, I'm part of the movement. Hallelujah. We have okay. It's not a lot of comments. Good evening, everyone. Okay, it's just greetings and now. Okay, guys. Hello, guys. Good evening. So good.
Tell them how they could get the book.
Okay, the book is now available on Amazon, so you can go to amazon.co.uk or .com, both or wherever you are in your country. Maybe you're in Germany, Amazon, and then
Amazon is universal, just .com.
yes, so amazon.com, and you can also, I believe it's also available electronically at Okada Books. So check it out as well. Okay.
Okay. So another thing that this book, that we have endeavored to do in this book, is to emphasize the need for a change in the mindset of the people. That is like culture reorientation. We need a cultural reorientation as regards to labor. As things are today, it is like our pulpit, like I said, that the culture and the belief system of a country is connected to its religion or to its pulpit. So as things are today, it is like our pulpit has succeeded in selling to our society at large that labor is something negative. A lot of people actually feel that labor is suffering. And even work is regarded as something that only people who don't really have faith engage in for long. But if you really have faith that, you know, 1 day of labor is better than, you know, 1 year or 10 years of 1 day of favor is better than 10 years of labor. So they kind of play down work and downplay labor. But that is one of the things that we must change if we want to bring about national transformation in our country, if we want to bring about development. If we are dreaming that Africa will be developed one day, we must aggressively begin to propagate the reorientation of our pulpits, of the messages that come from our pulpits, and the reorientation of our society at large, that our society must not begin to downplay labor and work and hard work and diligence. Our society must be reorientated and be led to believe and to know that the only dignity that is in life comes through labor. And our society must know that there is no dignity in just being religious. There is no dignity in just, going to pray. The way to dignify a nation was invented by God himself. And that way is through hard work. It's through labor. So I wrote in this book some strategies and ways of how we could actually reorientate our whole society and give our nation a new direction that would lead to practical economic prosperity and development of our country. Some of the other things that we need to change, where we need to reorientate the value system and the culture of our country, is that we need to change the mind of our people about the culture of miracles. We need to not just downplay the messages of miracle in our pulpits, but we must deliver. Our country, our whole nation, our people need deliverance from the message of miracle, miracle, miracle. Because as long as you are believing too much in miracles, especially when a whole nation is looking forward to miracle, then the productivity of that nation will be weak. Industry will be weak. Science and technology will be weak. There will be no productivity, no production, no commerce. Everything will be weak because people will be laid back, hoping for God's blessing and God's hand to come and feed them. That is why God had to help Israel to overcome that mindset. And you know the way God helped Israel and helped to deliver Israel from the concept of waiting for miracles and expecting God's intervention in everything. God knew that this principle is the only way to bring about development. If you want to develop a country, reorientate or change, stop the people of the nation from believing that only miracles will help them. You must, break that mindset in a country. You must break that mindset in the people that they are always expecting miracles from God. As long as a people are looking forward to somebody else or even to God as the source of their blessing, that country will never be developed. So how did God change this in regards to Israel? Because Israel, when they came out of Egypt, they were like that. They were a country like that, like Africa today. A country that is mainly looking forward to heaven and looking forward to manna to fall from above. And that was what happened. And as long as manna was coming, even though there was provision, but there was no development in Israel. There was no development. So, what happened is that the same thing today, if we are really serious about, so let me say what God did. So they were expecting miracles all the time, manna from heaven. The way God broke that mindset, the way God changed that mindset, and the way God really taught Israel is that he stopped all the manners, all the miracles. They woke up one day, as soon as they got to the promised land, they woke up one day and there were no more miracles. And when there are no more miracles, no more manna coming from above, no more food falling from heaven, what will you do? You have to walk. So, because of that, the people were forced to begin to produce. They were forced to begin to produce because they realized that if they will not work, they will not eat. So in Nigeria also, if we want to ever become a developed country, we must downplay the role of miracles. We must deliver our people from the mindset of constantly waiting for miracle or God's intervention. We must teach them that they have to, even though there is a miracle, there is a need for miracle, God thank God for miracles. Miracle is possible, but they should never depend on miracles. Their faith must never be on miracles. Even miracles from God. We must, re-engineer the mind of our people to begin to know that the miracle is already been given to them in the ability to walk, and that their miracle is in their hands. So, I mean, I don't know, it will take a whole generation to be able to reorientate our nation and our continent and our people and change their mindset from constantly looking forward to miracles to beginning to actually take their own destiny in their own hands. And that's what you will find in this book. That's just one chapter in this book. That one of the areas that we will need to change the mindset of our people if we will ever become a developed nation or continent is that our people must be developed from the dependence on miracles. And I don't know how to do that, because it is like getting rid of all the pastors and all these miracle churches, because they have just spoiled our people. They have just made them to be indolent thanks to their messages. And and that is one of the things that is responsible for our backwardness. And we will continue to be backward as long as we are looking forward to miracles and always praying for miracles, instead of us going to build factories, bridges, industries, and to do what we need to do. So that is one of the chapters. And of course, I know a lot of religious people will not appreciate this. They will even be angry at me, maybe hate me for propagating this. But we need to deliver our people from this craze of pursuit of miracles, rather than developing dignity of labor in the mindset of the people. So we need to also teach our people, and this is one of the chapters here, that transformation, national transformation and development happens only through work and through hard work and diligence, rather than through miracles. Miracles don't bring about development. If that had been possible, God would have allowed the miracles to continue after Israel got to the land of promise. But when they got to the land of promise, God himself had to deliver them from the mentality of expecting miracles by ceasing to send manna to them after they enter into the land of promise. God just stopped all the miracles, stopped all the manners, so that they would no more depend on God for what they could do for themselves. But unfortunately, we are still having a country where we are mainly begging God to do for us what we could do for ourselves, instead of us doing for ourselves the things that we could easily do for ourselves. So in this book, I also, of course, spoke about how to bring dignity of labor to a nation. And I also spoke about the benefits of work, advantages of work, because people think that work is a negative thing. So we talk about the advantages of work, the dignity that it brings. We also spoke about how to create the right environment to develop the dignity of labor in the country. So I have examples as well of different people in Nigeria that are embracing labor, that are embracing dignity of labor. Some promising Nigerians examples are here in this book that will inspire anybody else that wants to practice fall in love with work. So let me show you the book again. It's on Amazon. How to Become a Developed Nation Through the Dignity of Labor. Okay. You mean nobody is commenting on what I'm...
They're commenting what is more...
It's not on the topic,
It's not detailed. Let me read what they have. So we have Jane says, national transformation happens through hard work and diligence rather than miracles. That's from Jane. Ezekiel said, hello, my teacher and mentor. Happy weekend to all members of this family, of great family of DSA. Then we have Inka that says, pastors have corrupted the members through the message emanating from their pulpits. We have Ngozi says, this is a new truth, sir. Miracle must stop happening for us to become productive. I have never seen it from Israel's story point of view. Wow. Manna has to stop falling for productivity to kick in, not by God, but by people. Enodik says, I live in Tel Aviv right now, but I tell you, Christians are less than 20% here, and you hardly find churches anyhow. Israel is one of the most productive countries in the world today, but in Nigeria, we're waiting for God to come down from heaven and help us. Kunle says, I didn't even know that I can do what I'm doing now. I was waiting for a miracle before God used you to deliver me, sir. Emma says, when the Israelites came into the blessings, miracles ceased.
Into the promised land, yeah.
Ifoma says, that's true. They had to till a desert land and turn it into green and fruits land, all through hard work. Vivian says, no more handout. You have to work. Jane says, breaking the mindset of miracle-centered gospel and dependency syndrome. Jane again says, aggressive reorientation of our culture and the value system. Kunle says, DSA'S, I have made progress this year than any other year that have been born by just listening to you. I have three different companies now just by put in the work as just have told us, as you told us, yeah. Just praise God, this book will deliver many. That's Vivian that's saying that. Jane is saying aggressive, that's I read that already. Precious says, my traditional culture and value system as challenged, and I have outlined some strategies to implement. I'm grateful, DSA. That's from Precious. Precious again says, I read this book. I have never read a book full of truth and passion like this. That's Precious again. Okay, I've read the ones before. That's it. Let me go back down and see. Amy says, miracle as SOS, God's intervention in the human affair. Miracles are not God's best. The blessing is. The blessings mean there is a part to play to complete the equation. Vivian says, the miracles to work and labor had not to depend on God to do what we can do for ourselves. And Audit says, if you come to Israel, you won't believe it's a desert. All this was achieved through hard work. My heart bleeds for Nigeria. Kule says, before I will let my clients that I cannot attend.
I will tell my clients.
I will tell my clients that I cannot attend to them, that I'm going to church, thinking that is the way to go. Okay.
That was before, right?
Yeah, that was before. So. Okay, that's it.
Okay. Another, if you look at this book again, a book that I think that everybody in a developed country needs to buy. Everybody in any developed country needs to buy this book. This is one of the most exciting books, I think, and we have to promote this book for our movement against deception in the church, because let's see, you will see that there is a quotation written on top of the book here, slightly. You cannot read it, right? But I will read it out for you. It says, "No work is insignificant." You see, that is the concept of dignity of labor right there. Even though it's not using the word dignity of labor, but it's describing it. And the person talking here is Martin Luther King Jr., all right? Martin Luther King Jr., the black civil rights movement leader in America. "No work is insignificant. All labor that uplifts humanity has dignity." He said, has dignity. If any work you do, if it's good for people, it's dignified. It has dignity. It has importance and should be undertaken with painstaking excellence. But that is a whole virtue that is built into the fabric of the Western civilization and American society. So this little phrase here needs to be built into the very fabric of our culture and society. Until that happens, people will be despising one profession over the other. And they will be thinking that some professions are more respectable and are more honorable than other professions. If you come to my country, Nigeria, today, you will not be able to find any building that is well finished and that is properly built. Why? Because all our children, our young people don't want to learn skills. They don't want to work with their hands. Everybody wants to become a doctor, a lawyer, and medical doctors, engineers, and things like accountants. People don't want to work with their hands, so we don't have enough skilled labor. And the ones that are not educated, they just want to have some way to make quick money. So because of that, nothing is done well. Everything is done in a shabby way because of shallow-mindedness. And that is the roots for the backwardness of a nation. It's the root for the backwardness of a nation. So if we are going to be developed at all and ever, our government would need to pay a lot of attention to mindset reorientation. We will need to pay attention to value system entrenchment. And we will need to entrench in our society and in the psyche of our people mindsets that are responsible for development rather than mindsets that are leading to backwardness. Let me see if anybody is here. Do you remember, maybe you know, Mayowa, or anybody here is familiar with the fact that in Africa, we lack, in Nigeria especially, dignity of labor. In fact, when I was growing up in Nigeria, my parents and my whole village used to say, if you don't work hard, if you don't study well, you are going to be I don't know, there used to be a phrase they used to say in Yoruba language that you are going to carry, you are going to, like say, you are going to push the wheelbarrow, or what do you call it? Wheelbarrow for your mate, or you are going to clean the shoes of your mate. Things like that. That is basically what they are saying. So that is, but the way they say it in such a way as if it's not a work, it's not a labor, it's not a job. As if it doesn't have any dignity at all. As if that kind of job is deprived of any form of dignity and worth. And then they also talk about the conductors, taxi conductors, as if they are gangs and bandits, and as if they don't have a profession. Almost as bad as prostitution. Because they don't dignify. People just think that if that's why everybody who is smart, they only see only 2 or 3 professions as dignified. Are you familiar with what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, but that's why people don't want to go into those places, and even if they're there, they are looked down upon, and lawyers don't build industries. Yeah. Lawyers don't build water system. Yeah. So, because of the lack of dignity of labor, our whole nation is suffering. And everybody wants to be rich, but they don't know that any labor is what brings about prosperity, if you learn to do it well. So dignity of labor. Are you familiar with this kind of talk, even though you didn't grow up in Nigeria?
Yes, I am very much familiar with it. Recently, my sister told me a story as well. She wanted to be she wanted to do fashion design and something to do with design. She's in her 50s now. And she told me that our dad stopped her and said, no child of mine is going to be a tailor or in those days. So they forced her to go into go into academic things. But she's so good that she didn't even learn to do these things. She didn't go to school to learn it, but she could do anything. She could like sew anything and make shoes, make bags and all that now. But when she wanted to learn as a child, as a young person, dad was stopping her. So they only appreciated if you are a doctor, a lawyer, what's the other, engineer, and there's one more other thing. I think there are 4 professions in Nigeria that is worth talking about if you have a child. If your children are not in any of those professions, then it's not worth it for them. And yes, what Dr. Sunday was saying in terms of if you don't read your book, apparently if you read your book, you have high heel shoes. There's a Nigerian song, a Yoruba song. If you read your book, your shoe your heels will make sound. But if you don't read, then you wouldn't make sound. So those people that work hard, that have labor, they looked down upon, like they're not good and they're useless. And even as a young person, if you want to start trading or doing something in trade, they'll just look down on you that why do you want to do that? You should be a doctor, a lawyer or something, which really messes a lot of people up because you're ashamed to really show your talents in the areas that you can really shine in. If it's not the 4 main trades or 4 main profession, rather.
But I don't know, is that the same thing in the eastern part of Nigeria? Because in the eastern part of Nigeria, you have a lot of traders and a lot of merchants. But in the West, we don't have that because that's even not respected. It's not even looked at as a profession, that you are a trader. They just call them petty traders, like they just look down on them. Yeah. But in the East, there are so many. Even men are doing that. In the West, it's like if you are even a trader, maybe an old woman, just old straight trader. That's how they. But for able-bodied men to do that, in Yoruba side, it's like the disgrace. So, but is it strong? Is it as strong in the East? Like you must only go to university and become doctor, lawyer. It's not as strong in the eastern part of Nigeria. Okay, that's why we have good businessmen come and tell us, and and commercial work. I mean, commercial business entrepreneurs from the East, I guess. Because in the West, it's like you cannot even dream. If you say you want to trade or you want to go for apprenticeship, it's like you are crazy.
Yeah, hello everyone, this is Nkiro Jimade again, Nikki for some, or for everyone. So, the problem in the East, or is there a problem? The issue in the East is that most people, they want their children to start making money.
Oh, okay.
They don't have time to start, training them in school. At least that was what it was in my own generation. I don't know of now. So that is why mostly men, the boy children, immediately they finish, most time, even then, when I was little, primary school, is to go and find where to do apprentice, especially from Anambra State. The Igbo people, they are more like Yoruba, they go to school, but Anambra State is apprentice, those days it used to be to start selling spare parts, or to start selling building materials, or to start selling one other things again, car spare parts and everything. But now maybe it's not the issue. But those days it was, let my son just go and start making the money. That's what.
How is that different from the West?
Should I get it?
In the West, Yoruba.
Sit on top of it.
Okay. In the West, it's different because they don't actually want you to do trading and all that. That's degrading to the family. It's not
like
right.
It's an insult.
Yes, it's an
no,
insult.
No amount of money is a justification.
Yeah.
Money is not even, nobody even talks about money. Just go for school.
The reason is, the reason is that in Igbo land, before you could go to any house that you want to marry a woman, they will want you to have your own car. I don't know if you have it in Yoruba those days. Yeah. Maybe your fathers used to sponsor your wedding.
Not now, not those days.
Wow. But in our own, you have to have your own house. At least in the village, have your own house. I don't know if car not a must. That is why they push their sons mostly to go and start making money, so that they will be able to sort of have made it by the time they will get married. So that is what causes this, and that makes most of Igbo men to get married so late because they are waiting for that time when they will have it all.
But why do they have all the boys trading? Like these Biafra boys, they are all traders, mainly. Who are the Biafra people?
I don't know who are the Biafran boys because I don't follow
the
them.
Traders, mainly the traders, yeah.
Yeah, most people, they have to start just a way of making money, whatever it is. And that is why most of the people have even gone to the edges of, becoming some criminals just to make money quick.
Drugs and things.
It's a problem.
And it's in the West, it's worse, the opposite way, where even if a guy is married, chooses to get married or have a wife, he would rather study and his family starve so that he will become a doctor or a lawyer, spend years, or an accountant or something. And his wife may be working and feeding the family and saying, no, I'm studying to become a doctor, I'm studying to do this, I'm studying to do that.
That's what is respectable.
Yes, because it's more respectable. Even though you could do something that has dignity, it doesn't see dignity in actual labor. You see dignity in profession, because otherwise it's nobody. So it would, or maybe even have the qualification as a doctor, as a lawyer, and you can't find a job. You would rather wait for many years looking for that job.
In my family, everybody, the craze is you must just finish university. So everybody is finishing university, but nobody got a job. So in fact, there is nobody that I know who finished university in my family that has a job. But that's all.
Yeah.
That is it. They got it. They finished university and they have the degree. And they are sitting down 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, but I'm a graduate.
Yes, and
they boast about it.
Yeah,
I'm a graduate.
I'm a law graduate.
Yes.
And law graduate is not going to law school. Where is the job? Where is the mullah?
No, our own is just where is, you know, start making the money fast, and going to school is like wasting your years, and even going to pay them to get to school. Those days, I don't know what happens now, you know, but 30 years ago, that's what it used to be. 40 years ago when I was a kid. So I don't know what happens now.
And even in church, I'm really glad that Dr. Sunday touched on the religious aspect of it as well, because even in the church, my previous church, the pastor would say, being a psychology, or if he's not the four main one, because he's from the West, so if he's not a lawyer, doctor, anything else, you just look down on people like, what are you going to, you need to study that for?
You will actually say that in the church?
Yes. And he would say, oh, my children, this one is going to be a lawyer, this one is going to be this, and what, you just waste 3 years to go and study psychology, and you start laughing at you like, oh. And one day I said to him, excuse me, I didn't study law, you know, that's not what I did. Can you stop that? And he said, you know, I'm just telling people. It's not funny, you know, this is really a plague with the Western.
So his children will be what?
Yeah, it's a lawyer, and there's an unfortunate incident to that one at the end of the day. It didn't happen that way, but he used to both.
His own plan.
Yeah, his plan didn't work out. The son said he doesn't want to be a lawyer anymore. After 3 years, almost finishing, he said he doesn't like it, and he wanted to trade. He wanted to be a businessman. He said he wants to be a businessman.
That's like an insult to the Western person.
You know, I felt sad that the boy was dropping out in the last minute as well. But, you know, thinking about all this process, he used to laugh at us so much. Oh, you study this? What? You want to be childcare? Even if you love those kind of marketing, what do you want to go market?
Because there is no dignity of labor.
Yeah, so
it's
that's
about
out
dignity
of
of labor.
It's out of ignorance as well, you know, but yeah, that's what happens.
So we must change Nigeria, and to change Nigeria we need our book, Dignity of Labor.
Yeah.
Okay, Mayowa, take your seat, and our time is done. We've got to...
Let me read a bit of comments.
Okay.
Hello guys. Paul is agreeing and says, yes, Grashnia said, God bless you, Dr. Adelaja. Monica, yes, most eastern states of Nigeria, they believe that you have to trade, but Yorubas, you have to go to school. No parents in the western state of Nigeria want their child to go study to become a doctor, lawyer, accountant, etc.
No, but that's a mistake.
No parents in the western state of Nigeria wants their child to go study to become a doctor.
I think it's the
opposite. Yes.
All parents.
All parents.
Yeah. Say that again. Read that again.
All parents in the western state of Nigeria wants their child to go study to become doctor, lawyer, accountant, etc. Laugh out loud. And then Uche says they are mostly uneducated business young men, they unemployed, as well as all in
that is the Biafra.
In the IPOB movement.
Yeah, those are the Biafra. It's called Biafra.
And it says in Germany there are jobs that are worse than hawking things on the street, being a bus conductor, etc. But they so much value them.
You see, and there is dignity of labor there. And
they work with every amount, passion and commitment. These jobs are so much respected in level of government.
That is the dignity. That's what's called dignity of labor.
Dr. Sunday is saying that's what's called dignity of labor. This gave me a concern. Why many people in my country only seek office job, I suppose. Thank you, Pastor Ernest. God bless you, sir, for preaching this truth. That's Martin that's saying that. Informer says the pressure on men in the East is huge. Oriyomi says, except Ijebu people would prefer business.
Oriyomi said that. Oriyomi Jinat?
Yes.
Okay. Ijebu people like.
Grashne says, love you in Kiru.
But Ijebu people don't prefer business, they are just good in business. But they are the ones who push education more than everybody else.
Dr. Sunday is saying that if Ijebu people don't prefer business, they're the ones that they're just good in it. That they are the one that push education. Uche says in the East we have Imo and Enugu states who are education oriented. why Anambra and Aba people are business oriented. Aba people are business oriented. All in Imo, which is close to Anambra, is also business oriented.
Imo?
No. ORLU. Olu.
Okay.
And then Informer says, hello, Queen Nikki. Yes, the men just want to make money in the East. I think somebody like your smile. Nice smile, sister. That grabs me again. Then we have...
It's your own smile people are commenting on.
No, it's not mine. Amanike says, yes, in Nigeria, mostly in dropouts. Yes, in Nigeria, mostly in dropouts. That mostly is dropout that normally do all the tailor, mechanic, carpenter, etc. That's
like an insult.
Adela says, when I decided to do fine arts, it did not go down well at all. They used to make jest of me that who cannot draw. Someone get me a pencil. Yes, that's what some parents say. Who cannot draw? You think that? Why would you go and do that? My pastor says that as well.
I just go to school to
or you say you're doing food technology. What? To cook rice? And there is a better dun kokoka. Oh, that's the song. Batarea dun kokoka. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Paul. Florence says hello. Taylor, we are. Ola says you are either a doctor, lawyer, or disgraced.
Wow, disgrace.
Or disgrace to the family.
Baba lawyer, yeah. You know that?
Baba lawyer.
How do you know?
That's what they do. At least with the girls before they start. Yeah.
Ah.
If the girls are going to school, lawyer, engineer, doctor.
Okay. Ishe Logun Ishe by J.B. Odunjo. That's Paul as well. Martin Mola, I don't know. No dignity of labor. They see it as job for illiterates. That's another saying that. Akobata. Anthony says Akobata. Yeah, that's what they call you if you don't go to school. Mindset reorientation. That's Oluwatoyin that is saying that. And says, where can I get this book? And you can get this book on Amazon. So check out Amazon. If you're in Nigeria, you can get it on Okado books, electronic format. So true pastor, no skills and so no excellence in what is obtainable. That's Ufoma saying that. Enodate says, in the mindset is the mindset, and that really needs to change. Vivian says, skilled workers are so important and very much needed. Absolutely, Vivian. Emmy says, miracle happens in wilderness, but the blessings kicked in at Canaan. Anthony says, I agree that dependency on miracle is a major problem in the south of Nigeria, and accepting status quo. And accepting status quo as the will of God is the bane of the northerners. Innocent says, must read this book. Amy says, okay, I've read that already. So let me see if there's any other comments below. Now, wow, I have a hard time getting here first. I don't try. Okay. Pastor Ernest says there was a single mother I helped financially and advised her to use the money and start selling some at the roadside and make more money to send to her kids to school. She misused the money and told me that she can't do that and that God will provide for her. Yeah, through your money. Mountain of ignorance. That's Oriyomi saying that. Mary says, thank you, Pastor Sunday. God encourage hard work, only that we don't understand why our leaders in Nigeria thinks awkward. I say that because they are not encouraging hard work, were wanting greener pastures through looting. It's time for reorientation of their minds. It's so surprising to see a nation which suppose, as I've asking, read. Jennifer says, thank you so much, sir, for addressing these little foxes that are spoiling the vine.
I'm not addressing, I'm talking about the book. They should go read the book.
So go get the book. Dr. Sunday is saying he's not addressing it, he's talking about the book. The book is How to Develop a Nation Through Dignity of Labor. How to Develop a Nation Through Dignity of Labor. Ola says, I switched from science to commercial when my secondary school teacher sent me to go cash a check for her. I don't really get that, but
I got it.
In West, it is a fallout of colonial rules where some our forefathers that worked with whites saw the opportunities created by systems where they will become so-called oga. It is this mindset that West is still using today. Ngozi said it's now the same mindset in the East now as in West. There's now pride in having many graduates in Eastern Nigeria. Okay, I think I've read all the comments. Monica says, thanks so much for teaching DSA. Akajiris, this is great eye-opener, great message. Jennifer says, we truly need a mindset orientation. Speaking of South, we are trapped by our culture. Pip says this. I can't pronounce the first name. It's for Zena. This book is on Amazon.co.uk with Kindle version. Daniel has put the price as well on there. Please go and purchase yours. Thank you guys. We're back in. Are we okay to? Yes, we're back in 45 minutes. Please join us. We're continuing the title or the series on Is Your Church a Cult or Not? Please join us at 9 p.m. Kyiv time. We'll see you. That's in actually 47 minutes. So see you again soon. Take care. Bye.